Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Richard Waring, a member of the PoemWorks community, and love to be with you tonight on this very fair spring night with two wonderful poets. But before we begin, I'd like to share just a few remarks. You know, this is the time of year when birds migrate, and that makes me think about what happens in poetry as well. Poetry has been described as a migratory process where the journey of the poem is complete only when the poem reaches the ear of the listener by being read out loud.
Wow.
I like that.
Mm.
The Western novelist Louis L'Amour says, "A writer's brain is like a magician's hat. If you're going to get anything out of it, you have to put something in." I like that. It also betrays the trick of the magician, which I find very subversive. I love this from Mary Oliver. She says, "My loyalty is to the inner vision, whenever and howsoever it may arrive. If I have a meeting with you at 3 o'clock, rejoice if I'm late. Rejoice even more if I do not arrive at all." And lastly, Rumi. Let's not forget Rumi. Rumi says, "Set your life on fire. Seek those who fan your flames." And isn't that what we do tonight and every month? Fanning each other's flames so we can burn more brightly. With that, I want to introduce our first featured poet, Pamela Gemme, who was born to working class parents and grew up in Gardner, Massachusetts. She is a poet, artist, political activist, and a child protection social work consultant for Massachusetts Department of Children and Families.
I was unmuted, so that's why I didn't talk. Every recording.
Recent or forthcoming publications include Congress, Haiku Journal, the Chicago Quarterly Review, Mizmor Anthology, J Journal, So Flow Pojo, Resonance, Book of Matches, and many others. Pam co-edited Essential Voices Anthology, forthcoming from Borderless Books this year. Pam is on the poetry committee for the National Poetry Baseball Festival, or the National Baseball Poetry Festival. She is in the midst of finalizing Runaway, her first manuscript. Please welcome Pam.
Thanks, Rich. Thanks to my friends and my husband and my family for tuning in, and especially to Mani, my friend in poetry, and more importantly, life. Also, remembering Babs and her latest book, Come Thunder, for tonight. So, my first poem is called Roe v. Dobbs. All your rulings don't defend me. You put the screws to a mother. I declare my ovaries, my womb, my own red jewels, stripped by America's pitiless spirits, cruel men who are dead and gone, the fascist right-wingers have taken my health care, hung me on a hanger, pained me penniless, slit me, gutted. I drip pus, called me bloody slut. I'm not in Kansas anymore. No fairy tales. I'm incested, a rape case, arrested by the closed robes anatomy of poverty. My back's up against it, the alley's only wall. So the next poem I call Emancipation. Dear Holy Father, Is this your way of ribbing me into understanding our commonality as I pray under my breath? My friends don't know I am in a family way. Lord, is the universe a lonely place to build? I'm loitering before high school among the elms of elms, leaning on the stone wall in that baby doll top that hides the ball of my popped out middle. My shirt more see-through than I realize. My belly is judicious. I can't stand school. I failed my Pledge of Allegiance. I haven't learned anything, and it's hotter than 10 hells. My breasts leak in the June heat. Morning sun breathes out the first class bell. I'll skip out for a swim down the Cape, jump off that swing into the hallowed space of that opaque bay. At this point, I'll hold court to my roundness. I digress, coiffed and blessed. Keep my secret, God. At this point, I'll make believe my body will always be mine. Damn screen went kaput here. Okay. This is called She Myth. Have prudence if you fail her. She's taken a pledge of freedom. Like a comet, she rises a mystical mile high with a smile that annihilates. She'll spiral with a cat's 9 lives, feral, all the while her madder eyes, siren, endurance with a million filaments. Inside, she's yoked to the brim, hard vein, feldspar welts flank her ironstone thighs, sustained from the heat of her creation. No scourge of shun, headstrong, she pyros through a civilization that has come undone.
Mm.
And in my sophomore year of high school, I'm tutored at home in my 3rd trimester of pregnancy. Mr. Dunphy is dispensed to teach my lessons. He's a butt-smoking middle-aged teacher who drives a clunker without a muffler. He brings assignments, books. He'll teach all my subjects. Says he likes to teach math. Says division is not the path to follow. Says he has a sense of humor, so we laugh. He admires my watercolor, melted candles, transparent pigments dripped on a wicker wine jug. He comments the light is peaceful and divine, says I'll have to teach him art. I serve him black coffee, 2 sweetened loaves. We discuss social studies, anti-war protests, inflation, the energy crisis. Moreover, in these last months, all the words I've carried, my shame has subsided. I'm no longer a schoolgirl. A rose grows in the small sea of me. I'm becoming a teen mother. God could not be everywhere, so he created mothers. An old Yiddish proverb. My church chucks me out because I won't be a bride. I'm this wolf of a girl who hungers the throat of the next being that crosses me. I don't cry wolf, I won't cry girl. Every night, fireflies baptize my sky. I open my bay to a vesper of deer, a choral of eagles' creed. I have the call of the wildlands, chewy, fleshy green roots down to their shoots, and I thrive. Endemic to my place, I am bred for strive and sage. Wild language is within me. These truths I speak as I please. I alpha at the deacons, I alpha at the preacher. I alpha not for prayer, but for stained glass. So this is called Self-Portrait Demeter. Good riddance to the immaculate. I'm the windswept nest. My Mecca so fresh, so impressive, because there's language in mud and chaff. I cock my finger and my thumb towards the sun on colonized paradise. Thirsty roots keep me existing in uncertainties. I'm free on my feet, full term, vex and rustle the rumbling herd. I nurture the closeness between stars and firmament, the dreams between dreamer and somewhere in the dusky nebulae, where my birthstone is impossible light. Privileged to raise autumn's better daughter, while I hold her tender as the color of my blood.
Wow.
And many, many years later, from our apartment with broken locks for my daughter.
Mm.
A recruiter signed her into the US Air Force. I fought against it. My girl ganged up on me. Left without saying goodbye because we both cry. Her girldom gone, she became an airman. Fire in her brown eyes set out across the sky. She soldiered an M16, marching rapid asphalt. She became a legal gun. Fear and unrest in the projects, she made it through unscathed. So I'm going to read 3 work poems, and my work has to do with the trauma of domestic violence and child trauma and that kind of thing. So I had a career as a social worker. I'm still a social worker, but my full-time career ended, and I've been writing a little bit about it. So I'll read 3 poems and then I'll end with a haiku. Strong dress, Worcester State Hospital, Ward 3E, November 1980. I'm squandered, flaunted at a certain angle. I am golden flax, triple whip stitched, needles in a tender ticking, sewn from wound up skeins, up from a somber laundry. No give, no earnest fitting, no declaration of desperation, worn in the sun-fettered day hall. Today I drape on a raw-boned rib cage, a protection worn on the worn-out gown of a girl, without crime, without sentence. So this is something my daughter and I have both done for work. Working the child at risk hotline. I'm there. Twin baby girls in their car seats, SWAT team, household debris, Sony TV, Little Einstein's theme song. We're going on a trip in our favorite rocket ship. Gunshot to the jugular, boyfriend. It's always the boyfriend. The babies could hear the guns, see the splatter of blood. Big screen blaring. We're going on a trip in our favorite rocket ship. I don't turn it off. I try to find their coats and clothes. The foster home has to have a TV. These babies think it's their mother. Trauma is 18 karat gold. Trauma is that knot in my body, a second heartbeat, a secret frequency. Oh God, oh my God, he threatens to kill me. I'm in a funk, debunked, my own worst enemy. I read Vanderkook's trauma theory while my baby clings to me. I plan to run away from the squeezing fist of taxing tyranny. My nerve endings brash, digging into me and mining me. I ask for it. Disaster snaps, a mallet and a cymbal clash. I can't sleep, I don't count sheep. Awake with my eyes closed, I worry ways to leave. Worries deep sleep will kill me. Although I admire a friend who ran away, I stay to die upon a kiss. I am his little treasure trove. He buys me 18 karat gold.
Mm.
And finally, my morning coffee, I sketch the eyes of God through empty cups. Thank you.
Wow, Pam, we've gotten a lot of wows on the chat. Really wonderful reading. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Let me just pretend that I know what I'm doing here. Let's see. This is a problem, getting rid of Pam. I didn't mean that.
Unpin her.
Well, I wish it was that easy. Ah, there we go. Yeah, it wasn't in the menu there. Oh, what a wonderful reading. Up next, we have Mani G. Iyer, who was born and raised in Bombay, India. He is deafblind due to Usher's syndrome, a rare progressive genetic disorder causing both blindness and deafness. He has a graduate degree in computer science and was a software engineer for 30 years. His poems have appeared in Right Hand Pointing, Naugatuck River Review, Muddy River Poetry Review, Sonic Boom, Lily Poetry Review, Soul Lit, Off the Coast, and the Halakon Poetry Journal, translated into Hebrew. His debut chapbook, I Am the Dancing, was published by Yavanika Press in 2019. Please welcome Mani. Let's see, I've got to unmute you.
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Richard. Thank you for doing this for so many years. I can't think of anybody else doing this. You are the best.
Thank you.
First of all, I would like to thank Barbara for teaching me whatever I know in poetry. Then I would like to thank Pam, who believed in me all through and for being such a true friend to me. Then I would like to thank Gray Held for agreeing to read some of my poems today and having his footprints all over my poems and also believing in me. My first poem is Dead Letter Box. Dead Letter Box. India's diversity includes 22 languages with their own alphabet, each spoken in several dialects. This poem is dedicated to K.A. Krishnan, my polyglot uncle, translator at the Bombay General Post Office in the 1950s. They come from villages. Letters wives and mothers dictate in many shades to scribes of the color. Letters wives and mothers destined for men who left home to feed their family. They never reached the migrant men. Letters pronounced dead while still carrying birth not mourned, love not requited, hunger not sated, malady not known, death not mourned.
Wow. Wonderful.
Mani and I are going to read My Father's Snuff Box. I'll read the beginning and Mani will read the last stanzas. That's how we're kind of going to work together for the reading until the final poem. My father's snuff box. He's perched on his armchair beside the window, his lungi-covered legs and bare feet up on a shaky stool. Propped up by ragged pillows, he holds court for his neighborhood friends. I too tune in, though I'm supposed to be doing my homework, memorizing the charge of the Light Brigade. He booms. Our leader, Mrs. Gandhi, did right for the country, snakes his right arm toward the cracked sill where he seeks the steel box shaped like a miniature tome, his name engraved on the spine, pinches enough snuff between right forefinger and thumb, sniffs some up his right nostril, attends to his left, and claps away the rest over the floor. The rare smile creases his face as he splashes back into the flow of his colorful talk that perfumes the room and his nodding audience. Come nightfall, his visitors take leave of him and he goes back to his grim self.
I long for him to listen to my perfect recitation of the Tennyson poem, not reach for the snuff box, and come alive to me.
Wow.
Letters from Bombay. 1. Week after week, their words, 1/3 by my father and the remainder mother, crammed an aerogram, trifolded, the 3 flaps stuck tight with sticky rice, and my address printed out loud. Hundreds of their letters lie in a cardboard box. Now sightless, I can only picture in my mind's eye my father's brand of love. The love that sat in his favorite armchair beside the window, feet upon a stool, letter on a clipboard held to his knees by his left hand, while the right gripped an orange fountain pen he'd filled with Camel Royal blue ink, its bottle at his disposal on the cracked sill. The love that flowed in discrete strokes of lines and angles, shaping each character, standing straight and assertive like he was, and beginning with a date and place that moved forth into a stream of inquiries that sprang from my last letter he'd read moments ago, and ending with an abrupt reply soon, yours affectionately. 2. My mother's love that bent its small body, clad in a well-worn sari, on the scarred red tile floor, the letter atop a hardback huckleberry fin, and written in a curly cursive with a big pen she'd tucked in her purse. The love that begged me not to worry about anything, reminded me God was on my side, pleaded with me to quit smoking, kept me abreast of family and neighborhood goings on, and touched on the rising price of rice, onions, or potatoes, whatever she needed, a raise in the money I sent home. The love that walked a mile to mail the letter at a post office she deemed dependable, rather than the post box a block away between the repair shop and the dumpster.
And week after week, the sky blue sheet delivered me a pair of monsoon gray clouds, each laden with a brand of longing for the only among 5, their youngest, who moored his life to a far-flung land.
Wow.
Divine chicken curry. She removes the skin off the bone-in thighs, minces garlic, green chilies, and onion, plays her favorite Qawwali album loud, with Nusrat Fateh Al Khan belting out his intoxication with God again and again. She pours herself a stiff bourbon, takes a sip, then another, sniffs the air, steeped in roasted coconut and spices. To the frenzied drum beats, she briskly stirs the mélange, swaying her hips and her free hand, her sing-along voice an octave higher.
Chanting Allahu, 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 in unison with the enraptured singer, she brings the slow surrender to her simmer.
Wow. I'm so hungry.
Poem for Bhikkhu the caretaker. His sober swagger setting off from his hut in dirty khaki shorts and t-shirt at dawn. He'd pick frangipanis and marigolds for the Brahmins' morning worship of their stony gods, sweep the building's yard and tend its flora, do any chore any tenant demanded of him, be the landlord's servant in lieu of rent, pestle sun-dried chili peppers for all the residents in a waist-high mortar, an eye-smarting and draining grind. His nights were routine. Head for the bootleg bar, stagger back with near misses on gutters, sully the quiet with slurred profanities, swear to break a neck or leg or both of those who paid him a measly rupee for his drudgery, shout till he could settle on his open air choir cot and sink into a welcome oblivion. Sunday mornings, I'd find him squatting on a patch of sunlight, rubbing his temples and drumming on his head, perhaps to coax the pain away.
His lip darkened by beady smoke, his teeth rust-colored. From beetle leaves he rolled with areca nut and tobacco. He'd smile at me, I'd smile at him.
Mm.
Just a few words. Oh, to have said something to him, anything, a grandmother's lament.
Mm.
She's seated on a park bench opposite me. For the 37th day straight, she recounts in a trembling voice the timeline of the day her 18-year-old grandson never came home. 8 a.m. He came down for breakfast, ate twice more than his usual to her delight. 10 a.m. He locked himself in his room and tidied it up. He'd made his bed, heaped the laundry basket with his dirty clothes, untacked and rolled up the posters of Alan Turing and Ada Lovelace, tucked his MIT acceptance letter in a drawer, returned stray books to the bookcase, vacuumed the blue pile carpet, and shut down his MacBook. 2 p.m., he slipped out of the house. 5 p.m., he left a note in his car, I'm sorry. 8 p.m., city building, 24th floor.
9 p.m., ambulance. 10:30 p.m., police at the door. 12:45 p.m., his body identified.
Oh, devastating. Mm.
A blind man on the porch. Oh, the tactile pleasure of the weather-beaten arm of the chair on the small back porch shielded, a few glorious hours from the glare of the sun journeying westward in no hurry, and go back to savoring the hoppiness of the local IPA from a cold can, while around me crickets chirp, church bells chime, a cluster of sparrows roister at the feeder, errant traffic rush home, the sounds mimicking waves crashing at my unshod feet. Raucous grackles fly to their roost, and a skunk surprises my nose with its cameo appearance. Scouring for bird seeds, my wife explains, I love her sweet voice captions the world to me. The backyard's gone bald this drought. The rabbits and their little ones are at play. A monarch just landed on the butterfly, milkweed.
And throughout my seated sojourn, I can hear leaves from neighborhood tree, rustle a tap dance to the breeze.
Delightful.
Chapatis. We sit on the scarred red tiles, my mother in a threadbare sari, squatting on a slightly raised wooden platform, and I, cross-legged on the floor, a kerosene stove at an angle between us, heating a cast iron griddle. My mother picks a small piece, the right amount, though, for the misshapen mound of unleavened dough, rolls it into a perfect round with a few forward and backward motions of the rolling pin, deftly tosses it on the griddle, turns it over a little later, sets the griddle down using a pot holder. When the chapati looks and smells cooked, reaches for the tongs to flip it directly over the hissing blue flame, till it billows with no restraint, brings it back to the rolling board, smothers, then daubs it with a dollop of ghee, folds it in half, drops it on my eager plate.
With a bit of spicy okra, I eat it and I wait.
College complaints. 1, walking the slum road, I step on muck and bump into sleeping strays who startle, bark. 2, the sun's glare blinding me as I cross the highway. 3, the way some students scream into my ears. 4, how I can't get much out of lectures as the professor paces and light plays tricks on the blackboard. 5, the sheer injustice of my perfectly sighted and perfectly hearing friends getting my help with their homework.
6, the anxiety returning in the dark on the same slum road until the growing relief as I approach my street, my home with its aroma of curry. A dinner to remember. A hungry tomorrow looms over, all 7 of us seated on the floor. In the center of the human circle lies a loaf of bread my father bought from a bakery in the slum. With my sister's last rupee out of her earnings from darning saris and blouses of neighbors. Next to it is a bowl of butter churned from milk. The bleary-eyed milkman delivers like clockwork at 5 a.m. and never pesters us to pay months of overdue bills. The air is grim with my father nibbling at his 2 slices, his head bowed throughout, half in shame and half in a surrender to God, while we eat our share. Meanwhile, my mother waits to bite into her single slice, just in case anyone else may want another. Thank you.
Beautiful job.
Oh my goodness, Monty, that was absolutely incredible. And I'm sure that you and Gray dyed your hair to be identical so that you can share in the reading of
Yeah,
these.
Clairol.
Yes.
Thank you, Gray.
And
Thank you.
it's the first poem I've ever heard that uses the word ghee. So you got that going. Yeah, really, just remarkable. Thank you so much. It's wonderful. Let me see. Oh yeah. So now we will respond in our poet way with a few members of this glorious room of poets. And we're going to start with someone, you know, we've all heard of the singing nun, and then there was the flying nun. And now let me introduce you to Sharon Foley, the poet nun.
Thank you, Richard. And PM and Monty, those were wonderful, wonderful readings. Comes to life, your life, and wonderful. So I'm going to read, because PM is a social worker, I'm also a social worker. So this is School Social Worker Home Visit. His mother warns, I've tried hitting, it doesn't work. Drinking out of a sippy cup, applesauce on his tray, Lucas grins as he throws the mush at my feet. I try to catch his eyes, mahogany moving like a pair of small plastic trucks. He avoids me first, then lets me lift him onto my lap. I begin singing, I see the moon and the moon sees me. He stops threatening me, stops shaking the stuffed doll with bells in her ears.
Wonderful, wonderful. I saw that poem grow from an infant into what you have now read. That is great. Well,
Thanks.
speaking of hair dye, let me introduce Kathy Whitham.
All right. Hello, everyone. So good to be here and amazing to follow these two poets. This is called In an Airbnb. In an Airbnb on Alki Beach in West Seattle, I watched myself surrender to my reforming from scattered pieces of love conflicting with love. I watched my heart, a nautilus shell, coming in to go back out. In the morning breeze, a tease of hair glanced one side of my face. Delighted, I saw myself smile, begin to soften to that gentle touch. All the fish in the sea are no more able to feel the water than I was to feel my naked skin. From the beach, I watched distant blue-gray watercolor clouds reorganize into snow-bright peaks and jagged shadows. The Olympics, as visible as day. Look, oh look, parting the curtain, there's the full moon, splashing like milk across my face. A steady heartbeat of more, 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 more. Resounds inside the silent gaze where I meet my grandson's newborn eyes.
Wow, gorgeous. Up next, we have Dianne Silvestri.
I get it unmuted.
Yes.
Great. This poem was written after a poem called First House by Connie Wanek. I don't know how to pronounce her name, I'm sorry. My poem is Second House. We purchased the baked plaster ranch house. Our mountain climbing boots came along, useless now in this arid valley, but for memories. Van not quite empty, the movers drove away with your golf clubs. Things are lost. To know again, absence. Not a break-in like last time. Crowbar, shredded door frame, my SLR stolen, its gestating film. Our summer nights, the jacuzzi ripples flashed stars. We lulled, swaddled in bubbles beneath a canopy of our olive trees, silver sliver leaves whispering. In fenced privacy, we romped. No need to sow gibbous-fingered leaves from the nearby fig orchard. 3 times we forfeited our glee, embryos long hoped for, lost. Pain spun us far from center, a long way back.
Gorgeous, gorgeous. Thank you, Dianne. And now, Glenn C. Koenig. Unmute. us.
There I am. I want to thank Kathy Whitham for having introduced me to this group years ago. And I'm really glad I tuned in tonight. And this poem does not is not in reference to us being on Zoom right now, although it might seem that way. But this is called Too Fast Break. For now, we wait. The sunset, as it has always been, beautiful, fleeting. My window gaze, I see houses, trees, streets and lawns, people with dogs. At night, we switch on lights, adjust the heat to warm our bodies and our minds until we sleep. As a child, I remember the same life at home, a car to drive to the grocery store. But now our minds fly ahead as whitecaps dashing over dark wave bodies. Too impatient to even rise from our seats, minds propelled by beams of data. Global but quick, concerns flood us with deep emotions, with resolve beyond our reach. Do we blot out what we witness, sit with a book, or try to swim fast to keep up? No longer fiction, the flashing images show us death and lies as well as questions. We fall fast forward, lose our breath from the speed of tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now, to use a big word, our anti-penultimate poet, that would be third from last, Steve Nickman.
Thanks, Richard. Thank you so much, Pam, and thank you, Monty. What a great collaboration, Monty and Gray. And this poem kind of echoes Monty's poem about onions. This pretends to be a poem about onions. In the kitchen. On the cutting board, Vidalia reclines, offers herself up. Her one pretension, the tawny, clinging negligee. I disrobe her, admire as I have since boyhood, spheres within spheres. The urge toward interior, the urge to enact again. Burning, I hold Saturn's crisp, silent, luminous rings.
Wow. Thank you, Steve. And now our penultimate poet, Rex Arrasmith.
Thank you. Thanks, Pam. Fantastic reading. And Monty, Leslie Poets rock. This is called 60 and 8. 60 and 8. I remember when my father's mother turned 60 and 8 in 1973. My grandmother seemed so old then and needed help getting around. She was 1 year away from being placed in a place for old people. She couldn't be left on her own. She'd left the burner on in her kitchen and then scalded herself in the bathtub. I was 18. I had been living with her, helping her out. I wasn't always patient, and I was ashamed when I found her in her tub, blistered and shivering, unable to get out. Today, I turned 68. I can't help thinking about my old adult grandmother wearing a paper crown, sitting confused among the mayhem. We'd wanted to celebrate her birthday. She sat surrounded by her family. I had to help her dress for the party. She was grateful. I was resentful. Why was she my responsibility? Now that I am her age then, childless, I guess I'm happy. I won't have to be a burden to an impatient grandchild. And yet, here I sit with my partner, in good health on my 68th. I still feel guilty for my internal resentment. I did what I was asked. I loved her. But at the time, I was relieved when she was sent away to die alone in a retirement home where she was neglected by staff and me. Even now, I hate how I felt. After she died, I dreamt for years about how I would go to that place and rescue her. In dreams, she would become her old self. She'd make me breakfast, tell me stories, drink coffee and whiskey out of an old china cup. Thank you.
Heartbreaking. Rex, I will turn 68 later this year. And thank you very much for that heartrending poem. Well, Robert Frost says, poetry is ultimate. Everything else, including religion, is penultimate. So I'd like to close out this session of our open mic with a nod to Mani for having memorized his poems. And when people ask me, when I don't have any text at hand, tell me one of your poems, I can only remember haiku. So this is the full extent of what I can tell you of my poetry that I've memorized. This first one is on display now in Newton as part of the Newton Haiku Festival. Back there a ways, a tiny maple discards my footprint. Clouds above, city and forest alike, true cosmopolitans. The dog and I look deeply. What use language? Looking down, I see the ants use this road too. And I think that pretty much is the full extent of what I have memorized. So here we are in gallery view to share any as yet unspoken expressions of gratitude or revelation that we wish to have recorded for all time. I think it's been a extraordinary evening of spoken verse. You know, let us give a let us unmic and give a round of applause for all of our poets tonight.
Absolutely.
That's how we applaud in Brooklyn. That's how we do it.
Oh, that's great. Well done.
What say you all?
Right.
Your haiku is really beautiful. Yeah. Next time.
Enjoyed them.
Yeah, next time I expect you to memorize one more, okay?
Hey, wow, I've got a challenge now.
What a group, what a great group. My goodness, wow.
Pam, the music in your poems was just
So
astounding.
beautiful, yeah, beautiful.
Just
Yeah,
beautiful.
wow. Absolutely.
Rex, you really got to me. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you for that.
Mhm.
I appreciate hearing everybody's poem today. And thank you so much. I am the rose in my mom's poems, and much love
Lovely
to
to
everyone
meet you.
who has this
Oh,
passion. Much love to everyone. I appreciate it tonight very much.
Oh,
so.
that's great.
Thank you.
That's
Awesome.
wonderful.
We love you, Naomi.
Very nice.
Yeah, right, right.
Honey,
You.
Chrissy.
Right. Mm.
Mani, you really took me to my grandmom's kitchen with your chapatis poem.
Mhm. Right. Mm.
Mm.
Oh, man. If you've ever had Shareka's cooking, you know why he writes all these poems about food.
Right, wow. Mhm. Yeah.
Got no trouble with the sense of smell.
Right, right.